Hello, everyone, and welcome to the On Air podcast with your hosts, Stephen Hudson, Paul O'Flaherty, and David Gall. The On Air podcast is the official podcast for Geek Dimensions and everyone living a geek's life. Hey, hello, everybody. This is the Geek Dimensions podcast, and yes, we are still alive. We still have a pulse. We are still here. Even though we were gone the last 2 weeks, we do have good, valid reasons why. And each week, it was one of my other hosts who was having problems. So,
Swift.
Yeah. Last week it was you. The week before it was David. You know, David lost his power, and then last week you were busier than I don't know what. But
what is busy? A beaver? Are beavers busy?
I
Depends on who's paying for them.
There we go. Heyo, yes. Okay, so.
No.
Huh?
What?
I don't know. How are you, Paul?
Considerably less stressed than I was this day last week.
That's good. And I know David's without his webcam mainly because he was a kind gentleman, sir, and lent it to his sister.
David's without his webcam because he's not wearing any pants.
It's true. I like to podcast naked. I'll let the world know.
I really did not need that imagery. I really didn't.
Sure you did.
No, I don't. I really don't.
That's why I love Dizzy being the face of our Twitch stream. It's wonderful. I can sit here with no pants on and do what I need to do, and he has to get all dolled up looking pretty and put the camera on him.
That's just awesome.
Yes. Like we really. I'm sorry, folks. This show's over. We're done. See.
Yes, Steven's just gotten too much information, and now he's so happy he's got to go off.
Oh, I saw you did there. Speaking of getting off, the Sin City A Dame to Kill second trailer hit today. Did you watch it, Paul?
No, I've seen the first one.
Okay. While DeGaulle and I talk about it, take a quick look at that video because it is fucking awesome, man. Really? You don't want to?
It's not that I don't want to. It's just that I can't on the rig that I'm sitting at right now because all the noise that will come out of my computer will end up on the podcast.
I see. Okay. Based on what did you think of the first one? The first Sin City?
They look good. I'm afraid that they're bringing back most of the characters from the first Sin City. So I'm really afraid that they're just going to end up rehashing this.
Oh, no. DeGaulle never saw the first one.
I'm afraid that it's going to suffer from like a little bit of 300 Rise of an Empireism.
No, I don't think so. Like, DeGaule's watched the trailer. What did you think of it, DeGaulle?
I like Jessica Alba, or at least I did, like 5 years ago, so I'm assuming she couldn't have gone too far off the wall. I haven't seen the first one, so I don't have a whole lot to say about that, but, I mean, it looks cool.
Well, I mean, I think that was most of the appeal of the first one was that it looked cool. The first one had a good, strong story. It looked really good. Obviously it's based on a Frank Miller graphic novel. And here's the problem. I think that what was cool with the look of the first Sin City has been done. It's no longer novel. You know, they did it with Sin City. They tried to do it with, The Spirit?
Oh, that sucked.
Yeah.
That was bad.
It sucked major volleyballs. So I'm open to being pleasantly surprised, and I will be watching it. I guess if you just expect the worst, you'll never be disappointed.
That's a good point. In the kind of the vein of unique animation, I have seen Scanner Darkly, and I think that style is infinitely cooler than that of Sin City's, and would love to see some kind of follow-up to that. But anyway,
I didn't like
topic.
Scanner Darkly.
Even just visually.
Well, yeah, it was interesting. I'm not sure why I didn't like it, but I just know that my memories of it were not, something that it stood out, and other than the fact that I gave up watching it 3/4 way through. So I
Fair
don't.
enough.
But speaking of Jessica Alba, and I know that Paul's had a really rough week. Really rough week. And this isn't in the show notes. This is coming out from left field. But last week or the week before, DeGaulle was telling a story of how he came across the possession of a silicone implant.
What?
All right, so you're gonna.
There's some real circular logic here. Speaking of Jessica Alba, Paul had a busy week. The Gaulle finds silicone implant.
Well, I thought you could use some humor.
Do I look like I have silicone titties?
No, I thought you could do with some good, solid humor to lighten up your hard week. And this is a classic.
It kind of goes into
something else.
It's kind of one of those like client stories. So, all right, so it was a consulting gig for a plastic surgery office, and this is kind of also touching on the fact that you hope that nobody that hires you listens to this podcast. You hope the entire rest of the world does, but I hope to God that this guy doesn't listen to this show. But anyway, so the subject of implants or something had come up, or the subject of, I don't know, I think somehow it was fake tits or whatever. And so I was like, oh, you know what? I think I have one in the drawer next to me. And I looked over and I had to search for it a while, and sure enough, I do. And basically, it was a guy I was doing some consulting for, plastic surgeon's office, and it was just a general setup, switches, routers, the whole nine for his office, and basically get it connected to the internet, get APs set up, etc. And I was in his office, and I was configuring one of the access points as he wanted, to be closest to it. Fair enough, he's the boss, do what he says. And I'm configuring it. I look down, and his drawer is slightly ajar. And I look in, and there are 2 fake implants that are marked not for resale. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm not usually the thieving type, but for some reason I just had to have it. It was one of those things that you're not going to come across very often. Contract be damned. Hopefully he won't find out, but I'm taking it. Wow. And there were a few people in the office besides me, so I'm hoping that, I'm sure he knew that somebody took it, but I don't know if he knew it was me. Maybe, maybe not. I really don't care because I still have it to this day, and it's awesome.
Well, those not for resale plastic titties are just basically, they're ones that they hand to people who come in and they want to feel what it's going to be like. They're demonstration models per se. They're actually relatively cheap. I'm sure he had they're like a dime a dozen to him, and he probably never even noticed. So I'd say you're safe. Okay,
good. It definitely is a sample, not for implants. So then it came up. The question was, well, what size is it? So it was a 425cc, and apparently this is a C.
I don't know.
Someone in the chat room actually went out and looked to figure out how much that amount of cc's would be, and it worked out to a C cup.
Now that's a C cup that you're adding. Bear that in mind.
So you.
Oh yeah. There's probably something already there. So you're putting this on top of it.
Yep.
Kind of, and reshaping. So yeah, it's definitely a biggin.
But along the lines of having a rough week, I know you, Paul, have been dealing with office people who seem to like to maliciously damage equipment.
Oh no. I wouldn't use the word malicious, but what I would say is that common sense is not what may have been in very short supply.
And that's the end of the story?
Well, no. Basically, it's the horror story of at a particular client's office, somebody decided that they were going to go couponing. And in their search for coupons, they came across a site that said, install our toolbar and you'll get all these awesome bloody coupons. And somehow or another, even though they're not supposed to be able to install things on the machine, this toolbar made it past the antivirus software and got itself installed when they clicked on the thingy. And then proceeded to be basically a gateway that opened up and started funneling crap into the machine. And the machine ended up having to be taken offline. There was no point in cleaning it up. It had to be completely wiped and redone from the ground up. But the stuff that it installed happened to be particularly aggressive and jumped to a couple of other machines in the office, including the server, which I only caught by dumb luck because I was logged into the server remotely at the time. And antivirus software didn't pick it up, nothing. Ended up having to take every machine on the network down, scan everything, with live CDs like Kaspersky before the operating system loads to wipe the stuff. Found a crap ton of stuff. Now, I'm really careful about keeping these networks clean, so it's not like this stuff was pre-existing. And basically, long and short of it is that the most nasty thing that it got in started doing where it encrypts your files.
Oh, the cyber lock?
It wasn't cyberlock, but basically all the files in your directory will become encrypted, and then inside every single encrypted directory will be a text file telling you how to decrypt them by going to
by paying them
to certain Tor links that were time links, and so there was 2 links that would bring you either directly there and a text file, and this had actually managed to start encrypting stuff on the server as well. Thankfully, no data got out, no data was breached, nothing like that. But, there was still a lot of file damage. Well, thankfully on the server side, there wasn't much file damage. It was just a handful of non-important files got hit. But on 2 machines had to be completely redone from the ground up. And it was it's a pain in the ass because most of the work then goes into, this stuff isn't being detected by antivirus software. So you have to go and manually take everything offline and do, deep scans.
Of course.
They're retarded amount of work.
I guess the real question is, did that person at least get their coupon?
They didn't.
They didn't even get a chance to save 50 cents on some toilet paper or a toothbrush. And God knows
came out later that the coupon wasn't even for them.
What an asshole.
Jesus Christ.
And then, of course, on top of that, this has now spurned, we're doing a complete network redesign to try and prevent this sort of crap further. So even more stuff and even more redundancy and another, because of course, it's like anything else with clients. It's all or nothing. And, after the horse escapes the barn, they decide to lock the door.
But how useless is a modern antivirus that can't detect something that a user is manually installing? I mean, you're talking something that didn't just sneak in the background. It wasn't on a website that snuck in under the guise of a cookie.
That doesn't have permissions to install. Their permissions are blocked out by group policy.
Exactly. In a modern antivirus couldn't catch that.
Well,
that antivirus is suck.
On their network, I run multiple antiviruses, not on the same machine, obviously, because it slows everything down. But what I do is I try to have, different antivirus solutions on different machines so that if something does spread, there's a better likelihood that some antivirus software will pick it up because, they all have their strengths and they all have their weaknesses. But in terms of the machine that let everything in, it was AVG Business Edition.
I wouldn't trust AVG first. I'm going to throw it out the fucking window. Oh.
I tell you, at home I just run with a good hardware firewall. I don't run any antivirus, but I do pretty consistent scans and junk cleans on a very regular basis. But between that and my Microtech router with a badass firewall on it, I think I'm pretty safe.
If you know what you're doing, you can be relatively safe and relatively confident. The problem is that most people don't know what they're doing. And we're about to embark now on me having to do, in-service training with staff about network security. It'll all go in one ear and out the other. And next week, when they want some other coupon or some other freebie, they'll install something else and it'll all happen again. But
Well, I don't know if
but what I will say is,
Yeah.
thankfully, the client office that it happened with, in my experience of dealing with medical offices, they're actually really a proactive office and really sort of ahead of the curve in terms of technology and stuff. If this had happened at a lot of, at most, I would say at 90% of other medical offices, this would have probably gone undetected until it was too late.
That's
Which
sad.
is disastrous, you
That's
know.
sad.
So well, like, if I was to say, in terms of being prepared for this stuff and having a good setup and practicing best practices, the office that this happened at was an A. If it was being given a grade, it was an A, and it still happened.
Sure.
So I'd hate to imagine what would have happened at a D level office.
Well, I know neither of you guys use TweetDeck, but I know today was a really bad day. It didn't matter that I already woke up with a headache and it was raining out, but I log in to my machine and I fire up Feedly and it craps. It's done. It won't load anything. All it loads is we're having problems. We'll be in touch. Then at some point during the day, TweetDeck barfs all over the place because of some XSS script that somebody had run through the system, and anybody running TweetDeck at that point got nailed, and it shut TweetDeck right down.
Did you enjoy that?
What?
Did you enjoy that?
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed it all the fucking hell I did.
Enjoy getting nailed.
Oh, yeah, funny guy. But
I'm hilarious.
No, I know you are. You just really are. But I know that it took up until, I guess it was late afternoon before I finally got TweetDeck working properly. And it was like 6 o'clock by the time Feedly came back online. It was just insane. I couldn't believe how bad today was in that regard. But this isn't user induced. Like, all these things that happen sometimes are not user induced. Like, yours obviously was. Your case obviously was.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think the best part of this attack was that they were holding it for ransom, which was the first DDoS I've seen where they were actually demanding money. Which, I don't know, in a modern world, it seems like the money would be the easiest part to track. So say you pay them, surely they have to deposit this in a bank account or withdraw it. At some point, it ends up from an ATM or something. I mean, damn, why not use this as an opportunity to catch asshats?
Well, apparently they weren't the only ones that were hit. Evernote also got nailed with the same sort of attack, but no word on whether or not they paid. So, this looks like it's going to be an ongoing thing.
That's definitely an escalation. That's the first time I've ever seen ransom involved in DDoSing.
And the problem is, the first time somebody pays is when this is going to explode. The only way to stop this is to have nobody ever pay. Because once you do, it'll set a precedent, and people just won't give in.
Well, it's like that Cyberlock attack, where people, they had to pay to get their files released. This is just on a larger scale or a different scale. I'm not sure which. But what if Google, in all its infinite wisdom, it's got its fiber network it's trying to build out. What if they could save us from all this by their satellites? Satellite internet.
What? I'm really trying to follow the logic of that segue.
There is
satellite save anybody from a DDoS attack?
Well, because they run such a tight ship. The Gmail never gets spam, or so I'm told. They run a really tight ship. So maybe if we put all our internet traffic through them, we would be safe.
That is about as dumb as this Google self-driving car. In fact, that might be dumber than the self-driving car, which is difficult.
Did you see that self-driving car?
The thing looks retarded. Absolutely retarded.
What does
I don't know.
It's a prototypey thingy.
It's a piece of shit, all right? And Google's trying to do the whole touchy-feely shit with the blind guy who can now drive and shit. But I'm sorry, but screw
I
that.
thought he shit all the time.
As somebody who has a car, it's a manual. I enjoy driving. I like steering wheel and pedals, and God damn this.
But it looks so cute.
I'd like my car to be able to drive me to work. Because seriously, dude, the amount of extra work I'd get done on the way to work.
Yeah, but would you want to be seen driving around or being driven around in that little that thing?
Dude, if I could afford it, I wouldn't care who saw me. I'd be like, look at me, I'm rich, biatch. I can afford to look stupid. I'm rich.
I'm sorry. I don't care how rich you are. You don't want to be seen in that car. You really don't. Come on. Look at that thing.
That stupid face on it that they, oh, God. With this buzzer at the top that just spins around. And I mean, it looks like an amusement park ride.
I think there's better amusement park rides out there than this thing.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. And you see in the real version, they use a Lexus. You know, it's a little bit more civil. And you know, they put up a bunch of videos showing, you know, how they send these drivers out into the world to assess the situations of the car and blah, 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 blah. But
look,
I'm sorry. Who cares? Who cares?
We kind of have to get over it. You know what I mean? The fact is that these things are coming. You know, we're all going to be in self-driving cars, and unless you're rich, and there's no two ways about it. You know, a couple of states have already passed laws here.
Nevada.
Self-driving cars. The UK is apparently putting together their laws now for self-driving cars, and at the end of the day, it's going to be really hard to compete. It's going to be really difficult to justify person driving cars on the road. You know, cars that you drive yourself versus self-driving. Because when you run the numbers, these things should be more fuel efficient. These things should be safer. There should be less accidents. There's not a possibility for drink driving or people driving while they're high or having heart attacks behind the wheel and killing other people. The unfortunate trend is that, you know, for the last 20 years in terms of car design, we've been pushing our cars that way anyway. There was actually a wonderful piece on Medium last week. It's not in the show notes because it just came to my mind, but it was a piece called "Will My Grandchildren Learn How to Drive?" Probably not. And it's a good piece to read about how for the last 20 years we've been setting ourselves up. Self-driving cars are essentially inevitable, regardless of our desire to do otherwise.
I feel like they're missing out. As driving, I know, at least for me, and I'm sure for plenty of people, it's not just a means to an end. It's not just a way to get to work. It's something that you do for enjoyment. I mean, I enjoy driving. I enjoy driving to work.
I think a lot of the younger generation are finding it not to be that pleasure because they're not learning driving as a skill. They're learning driving as a requisite in school. And then they're being hit with, you know, ever increasing
costs.
Not increasing, but ever more restrictive laws regarding how they can and can't drive. Ever increasing costs. It's just, I think for a lot of younger people, it's just easier not to.
The car makers already have stats out that show the smallest growth area for new car sales or used car sales is in the younger generation.
Yeah.
Like they just are not interested. It's not a matter that they can't, you know, of course they can't afford to buy it, or they can if they got rich parents. But the fact is that they are not interested, period. They just aren't interested in owning a car. It's not part of their lexicon.
And, you know, down here in the South is slightly different. Because let's be honest, Dave, you know, down here, public transport sucks ass.
It sucks.
You know,
I couldn't get to you.
Essentially. I mean, it's there technically on paper, and you do occasionally see a bus or something going around, but really public transport as a functional, viable thing, especially down here in Mobile, does not work, and it does not exist. You know?
My only option would be to take a Greyhound to you, which would cost me as much or more as gas would to fill my car.
But more and more sort of more densely populated areas are taking sort of the European style towards public transport. And, you know, I've lived in places like where you literally did not need a car no matter where you were going, right? Sure. I've lived in places where even when you lived out in the sticks, and the regular bus route wouldn't run at nighttime, even though it was like running half an hour, like from 6 o'clock, and every half hour from 6 o'clock in the morning till say 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening. Even those places that were remote like that, what they would do is they'd set it up so that you could actually phone the bus, and the bus driver would kind of like organize with a couple of people who phone in so that you'd all meet, and then they'd drive everybody in at once. It would operate like a taxi service, and for the same price as the regular bus ride, which was like pittance, you know? So it's really done properly. It's really, really hard to compete with public transport. Of course, it'll probably never ever be done properly over here. But,
well, okay. Did you think that and both of you, do you think high-speed rail, like as seen in Japan or other countries, has a chance of even existing in the U.S.?
Well, look, high-speed rail is a bit of a sham, right? And here's why. Okay, you can do high-speed rail, and you know you can do like the channel that goes from England to France. Just high-speed rails run all over Europe, the whole lot, and they're great if you're traveling long distances. They're great as an alternative to aircraft, you know. If you can get enough people using them, you can get enough volume, and you can get the prices down to make it competitive with flying. Now, the big benefit of high-speed rail is the time saver, okay? It doesn't matter if my flight from here or a flight from Birmingham to Atlanta is, half an hour or 45 minutes. If I still have to go and I still have to wait for an hour and a quarter in the airport before I can get on a damn plane, right? At least the thing about these high-speed rail is you're automatically saving that hour and a quarter because you can turn up 5 minutes before the bloody thing pulls out of the station, get on it. Mm-hmm. It's the time saving is the benefit there. But I think in terms of solving a public transport problem, we got to think local. We got to be thinking about solving local public transport problems rather than being all concerned about, let's build a high-speed rail from San Francisco to New York. Because all the people who can afford to get it, to be on that damn train are taking planes anyway. They can afford to,
and they would want to fly.
You know?
Yeah, that's the kind of trip that's long enough to where they would want to fly. From Birmingham to Atlanta, it's 2 hours. If I show up to the airport an hour and a half and I'm looking at a 45-minute flight and then another 15 or 20 minutes to get off the plane, get my bag, and rent a car, I might as well just drive. But you're talking San Francisco to New York, it's a lot more time responsible to just go ahead and fly anyway. But I'm with you on the local issues are where and what needs to be solved first. Because right now, even in Birmingham, I can hardly take a bus from where I am to downtown Birmingham because the bus system is so limited. It's a little bit better in a place like Atlanta. You know, obviously, my sister works in Chicago. It's public transportation is sorted out. It's awesome. But for the rest of the country, we're kind of stuck in the dirt. We're stuck driving, which for me is okay.
Okay, just to sort of this is going to be a hard shift because it's kind of hard to move from that conversation. But have either of you been watching the E3 news at all?
No, actually, I've had no interest in it this year.
I haven't either. Honestly, it's a big corporate a pre-production trailer circle jerk with no gameplay footage shown, nothing that will actually come to fruition. It's all just. It just sucks.
Even all my gamer friends, I've been posting on Facebook prior to E3. It was like, oh, E3's about to start. Yeah, what a joke. And these are some hardcore gamers. I think this year, especially E3, has just kind of lost all respect.
especially in the past couple of years, it's come to light how bullshit a lot of these pre-production trailers and a lot of these demos are. It's, shown all the funny screenshots showing, console games that are being demoed on a PC, or people who aren't actually playing the game when they say they are, or the screenshot comparisons between stuff that has been screenshotted in E3 and then compared to the screenshots of stuff actually in game. The biggest violator being Watch Dogs recently.
Yeah.
It's kind of now common knowledge that stuff at E3 is bullshit.
Well, I know on Twitch Universe, I absolutely refuse to write anything about E3, mainly because, like you, DeGaulle, I think it's nothing but a daisy chain.
So why bring it up on this podcast?
Well, no, I was just curious because, I know that both of you guys are gamers, and I was just curious if any of the new stuff that's supposedly coming has gotten your attention.
I might have to lose my title as gamer. Okay? I might have to. Just based on the past week. Because, the new map pack came out for Ghosts. Obviously, as a season pass holder, I get it anyway. Still haven't played it. Haven't had an opportunity. Just not gotten there. I did get to play some Wolfenstein. Got all the ways up to fighting Death's Head in that little place where after you knock him down the hole, and then there's all like the fire coming out of the pipes all the time. Death's Head in his machine. And I haven't been able to get any further because I haven't had time to play.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, it's I did play Wolfenstein. I loved the hell out of it. I don't know really if it's worth $60, but that is a hell of a cool game.
Yeah, it's $60 feels a bit much when you consider there's only the single player campaign.
Definitely.
Is there any talk of a DLC coming for it at all? I haven't heard anything.
There was no like season pass type thing. They might, but there's no talk about it.
I think the one thing that really kind of irked me, because I watched my news feeds and I saw all this stuff going by. I saw all the flack that Microsoft was getting for basically putting all the Halo stories together onto one disc, so to say.
That's awesome.
I'd be buying that.
Yeah, I will absolutely buy that. And I bought the what was it, the Halo Anniversary on 360 when they redid the original.
Yeah.
What was cool about it is you could play it and press the back button, and in real time it would swap in between the old graphics on the original Xbox and then the updated like remastered stuff. That was awesome. And I can't wait to play the first two, really the first three, but really those first three Halos again on Legendary on a modern day console.
What I want them to do, though, and they probably won't do it, is I want them to also release ODST, because that was awesome.
See, but here's the thing: everybody don't. Was that?
Did you play it, dude?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's hard, even though I know what the Halo games have become, but really, I enjoyed just about every single one of them. The single player aspect, I never really got into multiplayer Halo, but I love the campaigns.
Yeah. ODST was awesome, man. Nathan Fillion was the main character. It was awesome.
Yeah. I see your brown coat shirt. Represent.
I think, but the problem I had was everybody was dumping on Microsoft for doing this, but nobody, absolutely nobody, gave Sony any flack for releasing a remastered Last of Us a year after the game comes out.
Dude, or Nintendo for releasing the 80,000th Mario game and the 80,000th Super Smash whatever, or the 80,000th kart game,
and isn't there another Zelda coming?
Yeah,
seriously.
Open world Zelda.
GG, Zelda was cool when I had a Nintendo 64 and I was young. I'm sorry, but I just don't, and I'm not excited about games that I played as a kid. But I just don't care.
You know what's really cool? You guys will love this. Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie.
I go slip my wrist now.
How does that work?
I don't know, but there is a movie in development at Sony for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Is it like live action? What is the deal?
Oh no, this needs to be live action. It would be like live action Super Mario Brothers with Bob Hoskins. What a disaster that was.
Yeah, no kidding.
The script for the movie will be written by Evan Susser and Van Robichaux. There is no information on the story that they will tell, but the game centers on the world's fastest hedgehog, whose peaceful life is often interrupted by his arch nemesis, Dr. Eggman. The project is being overseen by Hannah Magala for the studio, and this is what she had to say in the statement. There are limitless stories to tell with a character like Sonic the Hedgehog and a built-in international fan base. Along with our wonderful creative partner at Marza, we're looking at to capture everything that generations of fans know and love about Sonic while growing his audience even wider.
Yeah, okay. I call bullshit because the last time I played Sonic, it involved me holding the right button and collecting rings for hours on end. There's no variation in this.
Marza is a Japan-based CGI animation studio, so it's going to be CG.
Oh, of course it was. I mean, no, the live action thing was obviously.
Dude, I would have paid to see it in live action just to see the disaster.
But who would have played Sonic the Hedgehog?
I never got into Sonic. Sonic was definitely not my cup of tea.
Sonic has a whole spin-off anime series, and there's a couple of I know there's a what you call them, manga novels, lots of them, because one of my kids reads them. So apparently there is lots of material to draw from for stories, but there's not material in the actual games to draw from for stories.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all like extemporaneous stuff.
Speaking of stories, and we'll end off with this one. Last week it came out that George Martin, from obviously Game of Thrones fame, will write in two people to a future chapter of the series for $20,000 a piece. And
I'm glad he limited it to two.
And that money will go to a wolf haven. But
considering how many characters he kills off in these books, he could easily write in like 10 or 20 people.
Yeah, but here's
them all slaughtered.
Yeah, but the thing is, you appear on one page and you're dead in the next.
Huh.
But already one of them is being sold to a Facebook employee.
Apparently, who's a fan. I like how George R.R. Martin is involved in some kind of food charity, because there's an infinite amount of fat jokes that we could make. I'm pretty sure he basically ate the charity, but he's involved in some kind of food bucket or something. Food, I forget what it is. But anyway.
Would you pay it though? 20 grand?
No.
That's the kind of thing where you'd want to, to be in the book, he has to use your name, right?
Yes.
So, like, I'm sure he would change it up. You could be,
dude. I'd pay the 20 grand and then get my name legally changed to something like Biggest Dickus.
I'm with it.
Just to have a Monty Python reference in a George.
Yes. Paul, you've been busy, so DeGaulle is picking up the slack with his pick for the week.
Oh, and it's plenty of pick for everybody. It is Mother Frickin' Wildstar. I think Paul would like Wildstar because Wildstar, on the subject of the Firefly-y type stuff, it very much has that space cowboy kind of vibe to it, with the whole traders going on and the alliance types and the rebellious space trader types. But basically, everybody has crash landed on this planet. And there's all types of different classes, and it's kind of sort of an MMO, but it's a real action-oriented MMO where it's not just like tab targeting and spamming buttons. It's like actually aiming abilities in the direction that you want the spell to go and hitting people. It's real fluid, the combat, and it's got this cool environment with just great characters and a great vibe to it. Great setting.
Do you like did you like Borderlands at all, Paul?
Borderlands, love it. They're making prequel.
The art style is very, very similar.
Absolutely.
Very Borderlands. Very loadout. I'm even, and I'm not an MMO player, but I'm trying my hand at it. I love it. It's a great game.
I
But
will check it out if I ever have time in my life.
Exactly. It's made me forget that other games exist. It really has.
Now that's
And-
the sound of a good game.
Yes.
well, yeah, because you were going to play Watch Dogs, Gall, and now that's like
I bought it, and then 2 days later, I was like, well, WatchStar came out, so I totally forgot about Watch Dogs. So I need to say I haven't gotten very far.
Now, as far as my pick, mine's pretty simple. If you guys are looking for a 64-bit browser, unlike Firefox or Google or Internet Explorer, there is a 64-bit browser called WaterFox, and it's based on Firefox. I've been running it now for almost 2 weeks, and I love it. It's awesome. I can actually run multiple windows on my machine, which is a little older, multiple video windows at the same time without it lagging, more like it was before. It's nice. It's really nice. And you can find it at the waterfoxproject.org if you're interested.
Is there any benefit to a 64-bit browser?
Moon has a 64-bit version as well.
Huh?
Is that like Pale Moon then? Because Pale Moon, I think, has a 64-bit version as well.
I've never heard of Pale Moon.
It's another Firefox-based browser.
What is the benefit here of having a 64-bit browser? What do you need a 64-bit browser for? Is that something you need?
Outside of the fact that half your plugins won't work, better resource allocation inside the operating system.
Yeah.
That's basically the end all and be all of it. It's more efficient, better resource allocation, so you can have more things open and do more things at once.
And it actually it works. It does display faster. It's smoother. I like it. I'm a happy camper with it.
I'll definitely give it a shot.
I do actually have a pick.
Ooh, okay.
But it's not actually software or anything like that. It's Go Watch. It's 5 episodes in at this point, but pick up Penny Dreadful on Showtime.
Oh, I've heard that.
It's literary fiction. Okay, so we're set in London in Victorian times, all around England in Victorian times. And they're sort of pulling bits and pieces from everything, from like Bram Stoker's Dracula to Frankenstein to, you name it, all that sort of literary fiction. And they're all happening and occurring and interacting with each other based around this one story.
Huh. So
already we've had the introduction of, of Dr. Frankenstein and his monsters. We've got Eva Green, who plays a sort of a psychic, semi-possessed witch-type individual. Timothy Dalton as the leader of the rugged band. Josh Hartnett is there as a gunslinger who has already got it on with Dorian Green. Or not Dorian Green, is it Dorian Gray?
Dorian Gray.
Picture Dorian Gray. Yeah, so the two of them have already been banging at it. For sci-fi fans, Billie Piper, who was Rose Tyler in Doctor Who, has a strong part in it, even though she has the worst fake Belfast accent ever. It just really is. The story is quite strong. It's Showtime. I'm trying not to give away too much. It takes a couple of episodes to sort of wrap up what the story is and to start getting into things. It is a story of Timothy Dalton trying basically to get back his daughter, who is Mina Harker, aka Jonathan Harker's wife of Dracula. Trying to get her back. So there's vampires, there's Frankenstein's monsters, there's you name it, it's in it. It's been pretty good so far, 5 episodes in, so it's well worth watching.
Are they trying to hunt these monsters?
He's trying to get his daughter back, so that ends in interaction. I'm not going to spoil any of the story because each character sort of has their own story going on around the main story. So I don't want to spoil the interactions by giving away too much.
I see.
But if
Paul says he doesn't have any time to do anything.
Paul doesn't have time, but he manages to find 2 hours a week. 1 hour is to watch Game of Thrones, and the other hour is to watch Penny Dreadful.
So, what do you think about the last season.
Okay, so not giving away any spoilers, but the fuckers put the entire last episode around John Bloody Snow on the wall. Okay?
Yep.
I need them to go back and deal with what happens to Tyrion.
Wait, was that the last
Best
episode?
character in the whole damn show, and they leave us with Oberyn with his head smashed on the ground and after exploding. And how in the name of hell does Tyrion get out of this one, or does he even? I don't know. It's going to be an exciting season finale next week.
Oh, but they have been just dragging this on and on. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch the last episode because I got bored. I got so bored with this series. I just was waiting for something to happen and nothing did.
Let me just say, Jon Snow grows up a little in this last episode, but he still knows nothing.
Of course.
Okay, and on that, folks, just to let you know, we're back. We'll be back next week, and thank you for listening. This has been the Geek Dimensions podcast. We will see you next week, and in the meantime, from Paul, David, and myself, remember one thing: keep it geek. You have been listening to the Geek Dimensions On-Air podcast with Stephen Hodson, Paul O'Flaherty, and David Gall. You can send any feedback about this or any of our other episodes to feedback@geekdimensions.com or by leaving a comment on the post. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus as Geek Dimensions. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Blueberry, and podcastpd.org, or you can use our RSS feed for the show. The music used in the show is Metro by Sleek Thief. The On-Air podcast is the official podcast of Geek Dimensions and everyone living a geek's life.